Alright, so this is going to be another movie review. This one's called Spellbound. It's an Alfred Hitchcock movie from 1945 starring Gregory Peck and Ingrid Bergman. This is probably um, besides North by Northwest and Saboteur, one of the worst Hitchcock movies that I've ever seen. I do not like espionage spy movies, and I do not like psychiatrist Sigmund Freud movies. This falls into the latter category, as you can tell by the title, and it starts out with like a crawl. Well, first there's an overture, which is pretty good actually. It lasts about 5 minutes. It kind of looks like a road show, kind of like Gone with the Wind, that kind of thing. And then it goes into this crawl about Sigmund Freud and psychoanalysis and how psychiatrists can cure things like amnesia, schizophrenia. Who knows? I don't remember exactly what the crawl says. I think it's a quote from Sigmund Freud, but it's enough to piss off Catholics and libertarians like me, uh, because basically Catholics believe that priests are more capable of forgiving sins and cleansing people from sins. Uh, my grandfather was Catholic. He used to make me go to church and catechism and all that kind of thing. And he used to refer to psychiatrists as head shrinkers, which is pretty accurate, actually. I'm not religious now. I sort of gave up on Catholicism a few years back, I guess. But yeah, for about 35 years I was Catholic on and off. So I never really cared too much for psychiatrists. I was born to loathe psychiatrists. My grandfather also thought that homosexuals were witches, which wasn't true. But I kind of agree with him on the psychiatry thing, not because priests are any better at cleansing people of their sins, but because psychiatrists, from a libertarian perspective, are rather coercive. I mean, they force their patients to take psychoactive drugs, and and they pretty much they even, some of them, a small minority, I guess, still use electroconvulsive shock therapy on their patients. I know that's kind of outdated, and psychiatrists don't use that anymore. It's very risky. They could get into legal trouble for using that kind of shock therapy. But um, that's just my take on psychiatry. It's sort of evolved over the years. I've never really cared too much for psychiatrists. When I was having problems with my stepfather, my parents made me go see psychiatrists, and I absolutely hated it. Because my stepdad was non-religious, so I guess he preferred psychiatry over going to see a priest. And growing up as a kid, when I was with my stepdad, I kind of gave up on Catholicism. So that's a little background about me. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that. But after the crawl, you see a bunch of psychobabble. There's like a happy house type sanitarium. I think it's called Green Manor, and that's where Ingrid Bergman works. Then Gregory Peck shows up. He's taking this old dude's job. He calls himself Dr. Edwards, but he's suffering from amnesia, and he's really not Dr. Edwards. If you're confused at this point, that's okay. You got to see the movie and kind of pay attention closely to what's going on. Um, eventually, the doctors figure out that Dr. Edwards is not really Dr. Edwards. He's really Gregory Peck, John Brown, or John something. I forgot. He he goes by a couple of different names, and and so he runs away and hides. They pretty much figure out that he's a schizophrenic amnesia dude or a paranoid schizophrenic. Who knows? Um, the problem that I have with Sigmund Freud is that basically he can blame any kind of paranoid, schizophrenic, amnesia type behavior on childhood. It's almost like an excuse, you know. I don't think environment or genes are a factor when it comes to human behavior. I think each person is responsible for their own behavior, and that's what makes us human beings. We're all individuals, and each person behaves differently. Even a society of robots would all behave differently. We're all unique, sovereign individuals, and even somebody who's suffering from schizophrenia, to an extent, is responsible for their own behavior. Um, so to say that you know, childhood guilt complex is responsible for somebody's bad behavior is just an excuse to me. But enough of my rant on Sigmund Freud and psychiatry. Let's get back to the story. So this dude, Gregory Peck, is hiding in some hotel in New York, I guess, and and so Ingrid Bergman falls in love with him. It's kind of romantic because she's willing to risk her job and her personal safety to go after this guy. Everybody thinks that he murdered Dr. Edwards, and and so the Keystone Cops are like chasing them around, and she ends up going back to her psychiatry professor's house. And so I didn't like the first 30 minutes, but after they discover that he's suffering from amnesia, that's the part where it kind of picks up. First 30 minutes of build up, but like I said, movie critics at the time thought that it was rather superfluous psychoanalysis garbage, and I tend to agree with that. I mean, they could have done with what they did with James Stewart in Vertigo when he's suffering from fear of heights. They could have just left it at that, but they tried to tie in all this Sigmund Freud type psychoanalysis into the first 30 minutes. And even after the first 30 minutes, you still get a little bit of that psychoanalysis with the psychologist professor dude trying to impose his Sigmund Freud values on poor Gregory Peck, who doesn't like it at all. I don't blame him, but anyway, so there's a cool dream sequence that Salvador Dali did. Kind of reminded me of the 1929 collaboration that Salvador Dali did with Luis Buñuel. And yeah, it was a 1929 short film called An Andalusian Dog. I don't know how to say it in French or Spanish, but yeah, that was Buñuel's first movie, or first attempt to make a short film. If they would have extended the dream sequence, Dolly sequence. Oh, the 1929 movie was 15 minutes. I think this dream sequence is only 5 minutes or so. If they would have extended it another 10 minutes, I would have liked this movie a lot better. And there's a plot twist at the end. I'm not going to tell you what happens, but it's kind of weird the way this movie is structured. I don't know if Hitchcock was rushing this, or he just messed up on this big time. But it kind of reminded me also of The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is a silent movie. I think it's the first horror movie, actually. Um, because in the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, um, it kind of starts out with the crazy people um, being the patients, and or no, it starts out with the crazy people being the sanitarium owners, and then it ends with the crazy people being the patients. So this one is kind of reversed. It starts out with the it's the same actually. It's crazy people being the patients, and then at the end, the crazy people are the people in the sanitarium, and there's kind of a cool ending where the person with the gun is being shot at with the perspective of the camera looking at the gun, like it's almost like the camera person is the person with the gun, if that makes sense. And then there's a cool split second of a color in this. Most of the movie is in black and white, but there's like a split second of color at the end, and that's about it. As far as Hitchcock movies go, this is one of the worst that I ever seen. I didn't like North by Northwest or Saboteur for the reasons that I mentioned. Both of them are spy movies. I give this one 3 stars, the same rating as North by Northwest and Saboteur. My favorite Hitchcock movies are Psycho, Rear Window, I Confess, Rope, Shadow of a Doubt, and Suspicion. Those are my favorite ones. Vertigo is actually one of the best movies. Actually, it is the best movie of all time. As of this year or last year, took over Citizen Kane as the best movie. And the reason why I had this movie on my Netflix queue, Spellbound, was because my former coworker 7 years ago was a big Hitchcock fan. She had an orange Vertigo poster over her bed, and she wanted me to order this one so I could share it with her at work. But then ended up getting fired in 2010. The company was taken over by Pennsylvania company, and all of us got the pink slip, the severance pay, that kind of thing. But she's still there, and I still have it on my Netflix queue. It landed on my save queue for probably 5 years, and then it got bumped up in 2009. So that's the story behind why I rented this one. Didn't really like it or dislike it. I was kind of ambivalent, and 3 stars. I thought the TV show was actually better than this. I think Alfred Hitchcock's worst production though was the TV show episode where the guy dresses up as Santa Claus, if you remember that one. I don't remember which season it was in. I think it was in season 2. But anyway, this is getting long-winded, and I'm going to wrap this up. So have a good Sunday and enjoy the winter weather. Laters.